who's... Yep, just introduce yourself and then you can start the timer. Or you can count down and start the timer.
Sounds good. Yeah, so I'm Walkr. You may have seen me earlier for the blind race that we did. There's Nambo, me, Goobs, and Mobius. And now I'm running 651, doing an actual speedrun this time. And yeah, I don't have too much else to introduce for this, so... I'd say if we're ready for the countdown, I'll just get started.
Okay, you can count down.
Alright, sweet. 3, 2, 1, go.
Surprise, I'm here as well. I'm Nambo.
Nambo is here commentating, helping out. Much
I'm here
appreciated.
To help
so this is 651. This pack was made by Scrap 651. The name makes sense. And it's kind of got a lot of like older level design and like much more simple level design, but that's kind of the whole reason why I love it so much. Because a lot of these levels are just very straightforward, and it's very easy to play very fast. And the sort of gimmick with this pack is that the late game ramps up in difficulty more than like just about any other pack out right now. World 10 is still like Kaizo difficulty level, and it's just like super chokeable, so it's a super high stakes run, where even if you're super fast early game, your late game can just crumble really fast. So we're cruising through World 1. I think this pack originally came out in like, correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say like 2019 or 2020 or something like that. And then it was updated a little bit later after a pack called Gaiden came out to update some textures and also add custom music that you're hearing. And all the custom music was produced by a guy named Jim Nopedy, so shout out him.
Jim Nopedy's music is actually
phenomenal.
So
it is so good.
One of the best soundtracks. Like, if you're enjoying the tunes, go look up Super Monkey Ball 651 soundtrack. You'll be able to find it on like probably multiple platforms. Is it on Spotify actually?
I don't actually think it is on Spotify. I know he's got a Bandcamp. I know it's on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
It's always nice to support people on Bandcamp, though. So in World 1, there's not a ton of strat play going on. It's sort of just like the obvious faster ways to beat levels. There will definitely be some more. Worlds 1, 2, and 3 aren't too difficult in terms of strats.
The real appeal of this run is like the crazy late game. Like everyone who runs this category spends like the most time practicing the late game because the final world is just genuinely the hardest World 10 in any pack that has 10 worlds.
World 2 music, my beloved. Nice. I'm glad that worked out first try. There's a couple hard strats in World 2, that one being one of them on Jump Simulator, and then we'll come up on a level, one of my favorites, called Silly Solemn. And we'll get silly with it for sure.
That thing that Walkr hit was like the little visual indicator that shows you when the jumpy is going to be sending you into the air. And Walkr just got like a clip off of it in order to get to the next layer before the jump happens.
This is the Solemn in question. I hope I get this first try.
For how straightforward of a skip this looks, it is surprisingly difficult. I've tried this one before.
I play that level ridiculously aggressively, but it pays off because it saves a little bit more time.
It's specifically just like hitting curved surfaces in this game. It makes it like so much harder because every single like bit of the curve will give you slightly different collision depending on where you hit. It's really about like reaction and understanding the stage.
Nambo is our resident funhouse enjoyer. Nice. The last stage.
A giant, strong bounce pad.
Oh yeah. I want to say 651 was like some of the first that we saw bounce pads being like heavily used in levels. I'm not super sure if that's...
Scrap was the first person to use bounce pads at all. Like I think that Scrap did genuinely invent the concept.
And so a lot of levels, like you saw in World 1, this level... Oh, nice exit game. Hang on. A level called Restless in World 1. You saw the bounce pads for the first time there, and then you'll see them scattered all throughout the pack.
I feel like I can't get through a marathon run without telling the story about like how bounce pads were created, because it's just the coolest thing in the world to me. That bounce pads are actually just conveyors with a vertical value.
Nice.
Like,
Couple little thin wires
pointing
there.
Normal to the surface, or not normal, like perpendicular to the surface. It just makes a trampoline.
World 3 is sort of a rest world. Nothing too hard going on here either. Unless
Lots of very just like satisfying strats though in 651's early game.
Oh yeah, and like I said earlier, like all of these levels are pretty simple and pretty straightforward, and so playing them fast just like is satisfying to do. There's tragically not a faster skip on this level.
You still do get to skip the second half of the stage, right?
Oh yeah.
Which is nice.
I'm gonna try something here that I've been practicing a little bit, but it doesn't really ever work.
We love to see that.
Almost worked there actually. Getting the bounce off of the wall into the goal for a 53, yeah. It doesn't lose any time to miss it, like you just do what you normally would do, but it saves about 2 seconds if you do get that trick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you don't die.
Yeah, no. There's this player named Mr. Ike, who you've probably seen. I want to say he has showcased 651 in this marathon before, but on this level he does a strat where he goes backwards on this outer edge and rides the wire all the way to the goal, and I am nowhere near confident enough to try that, but it is a faster way, a faster strat.
It's very high risk strat just because of like how difficult it is.
Oh my god, I got zorped by the swinging bar.
Whoa.
We
Just
love
saved
that.
by the awesomeness of collision. For reference, if you slam into a surface or like an edge really, really at high speeds, or if it slams into you, and you're like your frame by frame alignment with the edge is a certain way, then you can just like kind of teleport like tangent to the surface instead of getting an edge hit, and we call that a zorp.
It's a fantastic monkey ball mechanic. Alright, we get kind of a cool strat at the end of World 3 here. This level, the IL on this level is crazy. We won't be going for that, but... And we hit the button.
I got like a big downhill bridge. Not gonna be playing it at all.
Hitting that button on the way down is really annoying, because you kind of just have to land directly on it. And since the buttons in this pack are sort of inset in the ground, it's really hard to do that. Alright, we're in World 4 now, and this is definitely one of the hardest worlds. You're gonna see like probably the most strats in this world compared to any of them, except for like maybe World 8 has like a good amount too. World 6 has some, but World 4 strats are just very difficult for no reason at all.
Kind of awesome. I mean, World 4 music is an absolute banger, so...
Nope. It's okay.
No?
No, World 4 music is a banger.
I know you're saying no to the strat, but that just sounded like you just disagreed.
There
Like,
we go.
nah. You're given such a little amount of time to react to where the goal is in that launcher strat.
Yeah. I've started using the minimap in the second zoom option. The minimap can zoom in 3 times, so it can be zoomed in up close. And then there's like, hang on, I'm gonna focus on this level for a second, actually.
Oh yeah, the song strat.
Tragic. I'm just gonna retry. A lot of air control in this stage.
This is one of those strats where you're like,
There
when
we
you
go.
watch it just done first try, it's like, oh, that doesn't look that hard, and then you try it, and it's like, wait, this is impossible.
This level's pretty neat because I feel like this idea of push all the buttons and then go to the goal kind of spawned an entire genre of level. We obviously skipped a bunch of the buttons right there, but you'd see in like newer packs like Gaiden and Launch, you have all of these like gauntlet stages where you're like following the stage around to get all these buttons to open up a path to the goal. Oh my god! We're good.
Yeah, buttons as collectibles is like definitely a genre of stage nowadays.
Oh yeah. I feel like Collectathon kind of kicked off that genre. Nice. Levels go by really, really quickly here, so it's kind of hard to mention things about every single one of them.
Fun to tell stories about every once in a while level, you know? Valves is actually a little bit of a puzzle stage that Walker's just not going to interact with, like, the normal way. You're supposed to keep pausing this path that keeps kind of flipping around, and there's, like, specific points that you want it paused on one side or the other side, which let you, like, get across the stage, but Walker just used the movement of the thingy to jump across the stage, and yeah, waveform.
First try waveform is awesome. That level is so silly, and you can just get hard stuck on it for way too long. The level coming up, Railroad, I'm gonna go for a skip on it. That is really irresponsible and not worth it, but I'm gonna try it. It saves a good 4 seconds if you get it, but it requires you to get really good collision on really badly shaped platforms. I'm gonna try it one more time.
It's not that they're badly shaped, it's that, like, you know, the stage wasn't made for this.
Second try is cool. Typically, I just take that wire and lose a few seconds, but whenever I tend to try it in runs like I did and died just there, I usually end up dying to it. So I've sort of cut that out of the run recently.
You go for it for the swag, though.
This is a water stage. You drink water when you play this stage.
It's always important to have, like, a water break stage built into the run. I feel like that's actually a really huge buff. It's like having a stage where you're, like, holding an input or waiting for something to happen, and you just take a sip of water. Like, actually,
it's very nice.
Stay hydrated.
Drink water, everybody.
We're chilling here.
Almost too early on the pause.
Yeah, you gotta build your own little bridge there, and that was almost like a little checkerboard instead of a bridge.
Repellent's kind of like a little momentum puzzle with a bounce pad.
Yeah, that's like the first bounce pad that's on its side.
Yeah.
In the back, I'm pretty sure.
I think we're gonna get world record here, so get ready, guys.
Huge.
Guys, that's tied world record on that stage. Amazing.
Let's go. Tied the IL record. Go submit it to SMB Elite. Let's go.
It already is. That's tied between probably like 30, 40 people at this point. There has been a lot of research into that level to try to get one more frame out of it. Like, I spent probably close to an hour, like, spinning in the stage at different speeds, trying to get a little bit of different momentum when I started the level, and I just never found the frame.
There's like, this game has some weird jank where if you spin in the level at different speeds, sometimes you can like get slightly different starting momentum on the stage, and it is like the most minuscule amount. And it only happens on stages with lots of rotation animations. But it's like, it's there and it exists. It's really weird.
It's super silly. That stage is doomed. I think it's as fast as it's gonna get. Here we are in World 6. World 6 music is amazing as well, just like the rest of this pack. This whole world is kind of themed around wormholes and doing fun stuff with the wormholes.
Yeah, this is the wormhole world. I think every single stage in this world uses a wormhole.
I'm pretty sure.
The only
a lot
one
of them
that,
just end up
I
being
guess,
like
is,
kind of puzzly.
Yeah, the only one that is like a little bit questionable is steps, because the wormholes aren't like part of the gimmick.
We'll
it's
get
just
to steps.
Like a stage that is formatted with wormholes.
Oh no.
I think it's a big one.
So this level's called Steps. I don't have anything to say.
This is a big difficulty spike in the pack. Like this is probably the hardest stage like up to this point, and
First try
probably
is huge.
through World 7.
That level just requires you to get clips on really like bad corners, and a lot of the time what happens is you get hit by the corner of the wall just back down the ramp. And so it's like I don't want to be mean. I don't love that level, but I've gotten pretty good at that level.
It's definitely something that you can improve at.
This is the one level in this world where we're not going to go into a wormhole, and instead we actually want to avoid the wormholes entirely.
Also, I know we're already past it, but drop-in is such a cool little puzzle stage, and it kind of just, you know, you just kind of play through it in the speedrun. It's like, oh, you know, you just know the solution. But I think figuring out puzzle stages like that is one of my favorite experiences in Monkey Ball custom levels.
We get a cool strat here if I hit it. And we don't hit it, which is awesome. It's because I pointed it out.
But that means you get an opportunity to hit it a second time, which means more wormholes.
There we go. Right? Wait, yeah, we got it. Cool.
Hey,
Strat's a little bit weird, but it just uses the like wormhole positioning, and it's fun.
Yeah. The idea on that stage is like one of the wormholes loops back to that track, and the other one loops up to the little circle, the semicircle, and you have to keep building speed on the straight track until you have enough to make it up around the semicircle. But Walkr did some fancy movement at the beginning to just build up a bunch of speed by reducing ground friction. Because fun fact, you move way faster in the air in this game than you do on the ground, as it may be noticeable.
World 7!
So anytime you can be in the air, you want to be in the air. Which is part of why there's like little staircase on that speed building track. If it was just flat ground, you wouldn't be building any speed on it.
Yeah. World 7 is kind of the last like little breather world in the run. And then World 8, 9, and 10 just become increasingly more difficult. But not too much going on here. It's kind of just like you end up playing a lot of the levels how you're supposed to, or you do like a slight little skip on them. This one is a little bit tough, gravity jumper here. This is a fun stage. Because you want to fall and then like scoop up this. Wait, nope. And then you want to have enough speed to make it back up to the goal platform. This one might not make it either, actually. Please! I'm going off of the back of the platform here because it does save a little time and you don't get as much friction on the way down.
A lot of people, when like talking about this pack, will recommend that like for a casual playthrough, you like stop at the end of World 9 and then come back to World 10 later when you feel more prepared for like Kaiser level difficulty, which I totally agree with. And I do think that World 9 does a very good job of ending off the pack with like climactic difficult stages that don't feel like too much.
Oh, for sure, yeah. World 9 has its like select few really difficult stages, but overall it's like it really is World 10 that just has the like ridiculously high jump in difficulty. Except for ladder.
Like the difficulty spike in Monkey Ball Run.
Yeah.
The most iconic and maybe notorious.
Nice. Ooh, an 0-1 there. That's rare. We saved a frame.
We're speedy.
We're speed running.
Device is such a satisfying stage.
This stage is, like, honestly beautifully made. It's so neat. Playing it fun is, playing it fast is a very fun challenge too, because it's all about moving back and forth on that wire, so you don't get hit by the little things on the sides.
One thing that Scrap excels at is making very elegantly made stages that are just like, here is exactly what needs to be here for the stage to be what it is.
Yeah, it's like part of the reason I love this pack so much is because there's not like any like massive stages with like a ton of ideas on them. It's usually just like a stage with like something kind of like basic on it that's just like made super, super well. It's just so good. Last stage in World 7 here is pretty interesting because we're going to use the mini-map. And you'll see when we go into this room, there is no floor. And if you look at the mini-map in the bottom right, you'll see the floor is like on the ceiling of the room that we're in, or on the roof rather. So you kind of got to move pretty slowly and like use your mini-map. And it becomes a little difficult because the mini-map, like you can see it jerks around a lot. And so you kind of just have to like flick your way through the stage.
It's like you can see where you are if you're holding neutral, but anytime you're doing an input, which is required to move around, it's like the minimap jerks out of the way, and it's like you can't quite see where you are if you're inputting, which is why you're kind of moving so slowly through the stage.
World 8 has my favorite music in the entire pack. I adore this song. It's so good.
song's called Soap Fractures by Jim Nopity. Go look it up, it's awesome.
It's so good. This is also just probably my favorite world in the pack as well. So many just great stages. Good textures. The ducks. We love the ducks. Warp Pipes here is awesome.
The ducks and the fish. Can't forget the fish on the stage.
Can't forget the fish. We'll actually use the fish on the stage as sort of a visual indicator. Oh, that was almost so fast. Yeah, this track is fantastic. Turn here is actually a deceivingly difficult level that I probably will not hit. Oh, maybe actually. Hang on.
You gotta come in with the confidence.
No! Ah, and I couldn't even recover either.
Getting that like little half flip to land you on the goal platform, like straight in, saves very little time, but is so flashy and so
it's
like
so
hard.
flashy. We're not gonna get it. It's okay. Because the backup is also cool. Overcorrection. Fun fact about this stage, Monkey Ball typically has warp goals like green and red that make you skip stages, but all of the goals that you see on the outside to the stage are still just blue goals, so there is no reward to going out and getting any of those.
Yeah, the warp goals skip stages only in challenge mode. In story mode, all they do is offer more points. But even those don't offer more points in overcorrection.
Alright, we are at
They're just there.
One of the hardest strats in the run. Jump scare here.
So this little bounce pad is supposed to like bounce you off the stage, but Walkr uses it with like a little pillar at the beginning to jump over the whole thing. Like,
it goes by super fast, and it doesn't like really look that difficult necessarily, but there's so many like, you want to like land on the top of the thing. I'm not talking well because I'm trying to focus a little bit, but then you end up like bouncing down and like controlling your movement in the air to get a bounce off of the little ramp into the goal, and it's just a lot. It's a lot to think about in such a short amount of time. Definitely stoked to get that first try anytime.
We're eye-beaming.
Oh no, is this cooked? Are we cooked? No, we win.
Gotta love like a classic just keep charging height in a wormhole stage.
Yeah.
Oh man, checker roll's also just like, this is another like kind of trend of stages where
big round rotating wheel. Object.
Yeah,
say goodbye to World 8.
A giant wheel and it's constantly rotating, so it looks like it's moving one way.
Alright.
Makes for a very interesting challenge, because the further you get to any side, like the further you're kind of being tilted towards the middle because of the shape of the wheel.
This
Do you want to explain what's going on here on elevators, or you want me to...
Yeah, it's like you have these two platforms, and they each have a play button and a fast forward button. And so you use the fast forward buttons to catch up to the other platforms that have the play buttons, and then you make them go slow again. I cannot believe I am alive. That is ridiculous.
Whoa. You got hit. You got like a Zorp hit.
I bounced on the top of the rotation.
Gyration.
Oh my god.
That was actually
So anyways, that's elevators. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, you're just dodging the fans essentially, but dodging the fans involves like this weird juggle of these two platforms that is like really intricate. And normally you don't get hit by a fan and live.
No, it usually kills you really fast. Here we have network. We're gonna see some pretty thin wires. You don't have to ride them for too long, luckily, because, or maybe you die sometimes, but usually the platforms come back up and they give you a little bit of safety.
Yeah, if you want to, you can just like wait on the wires until the platform comes back every time and kind of always have safety as long as you're in the wire for when the platform goes down. But you know, we're running, we can't just wait for that.
Big time bounce pad stage here for my bounce pad enjoyers.
Bounce pad enjoyers, heck yeah. Tilted bounce pad, like Kirby.
Oh no! Almost died. Almost got bodied. We're coming up on a stage. I'd say it's a pretty notorious stage in this pack. It's like the
ladder?
one time, yeah, we're talking ladder. I think it's the one stage in World 9 that like sort of branches into that World 10 difficulty a little bit, but only a little
ladder
bit.
Ladder belongs in World 10.
There's a stage in World 10 that doesn't belong in World 10 that I think ladder could easily replace. And so this stage uses the same kind of concept that Steps in World 6 uses, where you have to like get the corner hit with a wall in the way, which is awesome. And so a lot of the time, the little bars in the ladder will just kind of kill your whole thing.
Yeah, this is another situation where like it's very reactive, and you definitely can get better at it. It's just really finicky and hard to get.
It is, and it's one that I admittedly don't practice as much as I should. Nice, there we go. Didn't take too long.
If it weren't for this stage being in World 9, like there's kind of a separation of categories. So if you wanted to only play like the easier, more chill stages, then there is a speedrun.com category for Worlds 1 to 8. And the reason World 9 is not included in that easier category is because of ladder specifically.
It's because of ladder. Like, if ladder wasn't there, it would be Worlds 1 through 9 instead. Another bounce pad stage, platformer.
This stage is iconic.
We love this stage. We're coming up on my favorite level in the pack. Technique. 9-10 Technique is like one of the best custom levels ever made, in my opinion. It's like such a simple concept, but it's just like, it's so fun and it's so good.
It's all about figuring out a technique to land these little throws onto the sideways tilted platform. And it's a repeating pattern, so every single, like once you figure out the technique TM, then you can just repeat it, but also the speedrun strat.
Okay.
You run against the flip to get a more intense flip for that final throw to the goal, and you skip a cycle at the end of the stage.
Now is where I start focusing a little bit harder, and I'm probably gonna get a little quieter.
Yeah, I will try to carry the commentary here. So we are now in the famed World 10. Very, very highly talked about. This is just like already, you know, one of the hardest levels. At its time, this is one of the hardest levels ever released. And like most of the levels in World 10, like at the time they were released, were like the hardest levels ever released. The reason this level in particular is so hard is because of this red wire that Walker's on at the end here. It is tilted along two different axes. So Walker's going like both uphill and side hill, and like downhill and side hill, like the whole time they're on.
Oh my god!
And, like,
first try is huge.
That is, yeah, that is awesome. You love to see a first try on that.
Second stage
if you
here.
Die, like
Go
that
ahead.
wire is the hardest part. You die on that, you're losing a minute.
Oh yeah, it's like such a big time loss, and it just like, that level really spikes your nerves. So if you end up dying on that last wire, it's like really hard to recover your nerves after that. So I'm really glad I did that first try. This is Smile. Smile doesn't appear to be too difficult of a level at first, but once you get down to this side here and you push the button, the sign that I'm gonna kind of glance past basically says, "Congrats, go get your prize." And you have to go all the way back to the start of the level. And you'll see there are, you know, there's less than the time that I had before on the clock.
Yeah, your enemy on this stage is the timer. Like, the difficulty here is not the level, it's the timer. And that's what makes the stage challenging. It's like, it's a cool kind of reversal of expectations.
Ooh. It always stresses me out. I've gotten pretty good at that level, but it still just like gets me worked up every single time I play it.
It's another case where like you run out of time, you just wasted a whole minute and you gotta play the stage again. Like that's what makes World 10 so hard. There's not really any speedrun skips in this World 10, but it's so hard that like even the best speedrunners are like, you know, it's really, really hard to get through this deathless in general.
Yeah, going deathless World 10, like in a speedrun scenario, is like insanely difficult, and I have never done that before. I've come close to just getting like a World 10 segment deathless before, but I have not, like in a run setting. So this level crank, we're just sort of riding this cylinder back and forth until we get brought up to the goal.
There's
a tragic death right there.
There's a bit of a technique Walker's using, actually, that isn't really talked about that much, and that is when you're riding on a cylinder, it's way easier to balance if you're moving like horizontally across the cylinder. So you'll see when Walker's on like the second half of the stage, they're not just like standing still and letting the camera face sideways. They're like moving forward and backward across the cylinder, which may just look like kind of meandering around the cylinder, but it is actually like an advantageous
Yeah, it does make
tactic
playing
to
the level
keep the
much
camera centered.
much more chill. The
It's just
camera is
about
honestly
having,
the
like,
biggest
camera point
enemy
that way.
on this stage as well, because you have to like turn around at the ends of the cylinder here, and the camera can kind of just like ruin your whole day, which is sort of what caused my death. Uh-oh. Dolphin? Dolphin? Dolphin?
Uh-oh, is it? Will it come back?
It came back. We're good. And I survived, which
Okay.
is honestly crazy.
What? That is insane.
That's crazy. I
Okay.
can't believe I lived that. We take it. We take those. So, birds. I have an emote in my Twitch chat for this level because of how notoriously difficult it is. This wire is extremely thin, as you can maybe see, and you don't get very much time to try to balance on it before the, like, side platforms disappear for you.
The intended way of completing this level, which is going on the super thin wire on that green bird that Walker is going to be skipping, has only been done by like 3 or 4 people ever, I think.
Yeah.
It
took me so long
ridiculously thin.
to, like, beat this level the way you're supposed to beat it. I think if there were no skips for this level, this would still be considered like one of the hardest Monkey Ball stages of all time. But luckily, if I can get it, the skip is still very hard, but it is much easier than playing the level as intended.
Yeah, this is the type of thing, like, even in a speedrun, you just come in and, like, you know, you die 1 or 2 times, and it's like, alright, I just gotta lock in. It's like,
Oh yeah, sometimes you
you're
die
not
10 or
worried
20
about the run
times.
being dead.
This one luckily is very short, so even if you end up dying a whole bunch to this stage, it doesn't lose like a ton of time compared to like dying a bunch on Sleek Hopper. Come on.
I've also definitely seen the strat before of like coming into the run, dying like once or twice on birds and being like, alright, that's not it. Going to a different stage and coming back later for like the better mentality. It's definitely a strat I have seen people employ.
Nice, there we go.
Hey,
Birds.
yo.
Yeah, that strat is really hard.
Yeah, the reason that's so hard is like you have to come to a full stop on that red wire at the very end, and you're moving really fast into it. So
You
gotta
have a
like
lot of speed.
predict when you're pulling back on the controller, because you can't just stop on a dime. You have to like hold backwards and wait for acceleration to slow you down. I guess while Walker's focusing here, this stage unlock, the idea of this is that there are 6 buttons, and you need to click all 6. I actually know there's 7 buttons. There's 6 on this little rotating platform here, and then there's 1 more behind those walls that are behind like the red wire there. And the idea is you need to click all 6 of the buttons on the platform to then open up the one that's on like behind those walls, and then that opens up the goal. And what makes this level so hard, other than the thin wires and like the rotating surface, which is just really hard to get across, is also just like the little
Oh my
holes
God.
the buttons are in
Sorry.
kind of shift you around in weird ways. You get that first try? Oh my god.
Yeah, you saw it now, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit delayed, but I just saw that. That was crazy. Yeah, that stage is really hard. I mean, that's the case with basically every stage in World 10 in this pack. You know, this stage is really hard. This is another stage where the timer is your enemy. Like, you gotta do these little, like, wire movements on these thin thingies, and the reason that it's so hard is that you can't chill out. Like, you need to hustle on these wires in order to actually finish the stage in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
And because of that time limit, you also can't mess up the timing. Like, part of the reason stage is called frame windows is because you have a very short, like 4-frame-ish window, I think, to pause the frames that actually line up with the platform, and you have to pause it manually. Like, it doesn't stop on its own. So if you mess up any of those pauses, then the amount of time it takes to like wait for the cycle to do the next one and repause it, you're just not going to finish the stage
Nice.
in time. You mess
First
that up.
try is huge on that one too, because that is another big time sink. It's another one
Yeah.
where you just get like, the
Hard
more you
level.
die to it, the more you either get upset or just get more and more nervous.
Momentum is a
one-
huge thing in this
Yeah.
run.
We get a little bit of a breather. Desync is still a hard level, but it is nowhere near the difficulty of a lot of World 10 stages.
A lot of the difficulty in this stage comes from the puzzle, which as a speedrunner, you just know the like a solution to the puzzle.
Yeah.
But like the difficulty of that stage is figuring out how to line up these platforms in a way that actually lets you get to the goal, because they're desynced as per the name. But Walkr just knew a pattern of like when to hit the buttons that got them synced up, so they were all good.
Damn. This level, you're meant to ride on the top of these wires and then transfer the wires as they move up and down, but it is both faster and easier to ride the inside of them like this sort of. If I can do it. This level is really, really hard.
Yeah, the thing is, even though it is easier, you know, you're talking about easier than super difficult Kaizo, which is still super difficult Kaizo, it's just slightly less difficult super difficult Kaizo. Like, these little transfers require very, very tight timings, of, like, when you're swapping towards holding against the opposite side of the wire. And then you still have to do one of those topside transfers on that final hill. Like, you can't avoid that one by just hugging a wall.
We might be here for a little bit.
Focus.
No!
I have no clue. Oh no!
That was a close one.
Oh,
Yeah, that
looks
ending,
so close.
the ending with nerves, which I do have, is very hard to play because you have to stabilize on the wire. Dolphin crashing again? Really? Oh no, we're good. We're good.
If Dolphin fully crashes, you just finish the run in practice.
Yeah.
Play. It's like 3 stages left. Actually, yeah, there are literally 3 stages left. And 10-9 is actually the easiest stage in World 10, which is kind of funny.
10-9
like,
could
the
be replaced.
The penultimate stage.
Okay, lock in for a moment.
Luckily, we do get to end off on a very climactic final strat, because the 10-10 strat is a very flashy skin.
Yeah.
You know, what makes this so difficult is just how hard it is to beat the level at all, TM.
Nice, there we go. We're out.
Hey!
We were in jail for a little bit, but stress test is a lovely break.
Exactly. We love to see it.
I am very good at dying on this stage, though.
I think Stress Test was originally meant to be a much longer stage, and it got nerfed because it was like way too long for a 60-second timer. And back when this pack was first made, people didn't know how to like change the timer.
This is the hardest strat in the entire run. Time is on the goal rip. I might not get it first try, so don't get too excited. Normally, you would just play this level as intended, but I'm pretty bad at playing this level as intended. So you just do it like that instead. First try on that is awesome, and I'm stoked on that time.
That is so hype.
Very nice, very nice. And we were below estimate, which is just lovely, and that brings me joy. So yeah, that's awesome. The run. That's 651. A less than graceful World 10, but we still made it nonetheless. Yeah, a lot going on there. A lot of stress.
That ending strat is so difficult because you have to like kind of predict with the sway of the level exactly how much like rocking you need to do in order to make it line up perfectly. And then even then, like you kind of saw Walkr had to like land on that super thin wire in order to like ride it up into the goal. And that wire is thin. It is so tiny.
Yeah, it is trivially thin. But yeah. That's 651. Thanks for the GGs.
All right. Is there anything you can still show off, or are you done?
That's pretty much all the content in this pack.
You can play slope mechanics.
I could play slope mechanics is another really. I'll go into slope mechanics, just to show it. I will not be beating it. Slope mechanics is a little hidden stage. Is it? Where is it? Is it in beginner extra?
Isn't it extra? Oh, it's beginner extra. Okay.
Yeah, this stage is awful.
The stage
so
is
basically,
specifically put in challenge mode to be like hidden because it's kind of just a meme.
This is I don't know. There's no words. I'll just play the level for a little bit. You're basically supposed to like get onto the wire, which is pretty difficult in its own, and then build up speed, land back on the wire, ride it up to the next platform, come back, build up speed, next platform, and then one more time, all the way to the top. And it is just like, this is still one of the hardest stages ever made. I will not be beating this right now. But it's just a nice little Easter egg that Scrap decided to put in here. I think it's funny, and a lot of the community just kind of thinks it's funny.
I think this level's awesome.
Yeah, definitely peak design. Top 3 levels of all time. Yeah, shout out Scrap651. Seriously, this is like one of my favorite packs ever released. Even like in today's standards, with a lot of these insane packs like Stardust being released, like I still just adore this pack so much. Shout out Nambo.
Every pack has reasons to come back to it. Like 651 has that like elegant, straightforward design philosophy that is like so iconic and so like
it just works so well, and it plays so nicely in my opinion. And it's got technique, which is just like a perfect level. So but yeah, shout out the level making community in general. A lot of just like insane things being made. Like the fact that we're even able to make custom stages for Monkey Ball is like ridiculous to me. And like I don't know, like making custom code to have like custom mechanics in a game that was made in 2002 is just so sick. So shout out them.
Yeah.
Shout out Monkey Grill. We love Monkey Grill. All of you. I don't have much else to show or say.
Okay. And we'll be moving on if you have anything to say then.
Sweet. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you.
Okay. And next up